Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Greetings, Algo Artisans. 8:30 a.m. EST. We just had some data drop, and it appears that data was dollar strong data. This was employment data, so it must be, actually, it's unemployment data. Let's take a brief look at that. Let me flip over to that screen. Must be that the unemployment numbers were below expectation, right? So let's see. Yep. Unemployment claims expected 223,000, actual at 206,000. Okay, so you're going to see things go up against the dollar, or I should say down against the dollar. Dollar will go up. Let's go back to the charts. This data is a little behind, but the NASDAQ was already in trouble even before I took a look at it. And this is the 1-minute chart, so we'll not worry too much about that. But here in the 30-minute chart, you can see that you're having price bounce at basically the same level. But right now, the highs are getting lower, and it just continues to get pushed down. So it appears that if I back out to a higher timeline, and again, I told you that on the higher time frame, the NASDAQ was vulnerable. And right now, based on what I'm seeing, it's getting even more, more vulnerable. It's a weird word. Let's see here. Yeah, no, it's just bearish overall. It's vulnerable all the way up to the monthly chart. So we're going to see the NASDAQ probably, I mean, it might get caught at some point. You might see the NASDAQ sort of get caught at this 24,250 and pushed back up. It's hard to say when this will fall, whether or not it's going to just like come down today or whether it's going to pull one of these. Remember, tomorrow is pretty big data. So it might be that price doesn't move around a ton until that data comes out, right? It may be that we just see price kind of float until that quarter over quarter GDP and what else is it? What the hell metric is it? Give me a second. I know there's PMIs, but I think the big news is going to be the PCE, the inflation metric. So when the inflation data comes out, GDP data comes out, this will be probably affected in some way. And if it were way, way different than what's expected, then yes, you could see, these numbers really, really swing differently. But we're going to have to see, like, if those numbers look no bueno, then you're going to, like, let's just say that if the economy looks strong, then the wisdom might be that we don't need an interest rate cut and this market continues down. If the economy looks weak based on that data, if they're, let's just say if the inflation is low, the core PCE might be like, okay, we can start cutting rates, right? If the GDP is low, it might be like, okay, we need to cut rates. But if the GDP is high, inflation is high, or some combination thereof, that could just be confusing and hard to measure. So we'll have to see how it happens. But right now, if nothing were to change, price is headed towards this 24,250-ish area for the NASDAQ, right? And if you back out to a higher time frame, even more so, that's, it's ranging. You have going up since the earlier part of last year and until the high in October, price has been ranging more or less since October. So is it going to continue to range, or, are we going to see price maybe drop a bit as low as 22,450 before we start to see, okay, now we're finally seeing deflation. Now we're starting to see the economy, hurt, things like that. Because as long as the economic metrics come out healthy, then it's going to be hard to justify a rate cut, right? And rate cuts are what push money into the market, and we need market pullbacks. No one likes them, but we need them. They're healthy. I like market pullbacks personally. So that said, we have a little bit of time for, we'll take a look at silver. Silver is holding on. It's just hanging out in this area. It seems like it might develop a range. We haven't seen any slam down all week. It's been Chinese New Year for 2-3 days. We haven't seen the slam down yet, but a lot of these things happen on a Friday afternoon, right? So let's see what happens on tomorrow with silver and gold. But they are holding on. Not going up per se, but certainly ranging a little bit. There's not a lot of action in precious metals. Just gold hanging out between 48.50 and say 5100. Silver's range. We don't really have a well-defined range for silver, but just this week it's been between like 72 and 79. So it seems to be calming down and it might range out. And like I said, we'll see what happens. We'll see if there is something on Friday, with some kind of COMEX games or something like that. But there's not a lot to be said about it right now. Okay. Bitcoin, just doing what I said, just headed down. You might see it at some point break upward. It's possible. There's always that chance that after this big move down from 100,000, you might see a double bottom here and a move back up. And if there were a move back up, which I doubt, but it might go up to about, as low as 80,000, as high as 84. But I don't expect that. Not right now. We need to see some very different things happen in the charts in the indicator stack. It's just very bearish right now. Now we are approaching some reason for Bitcoin to bounce. It could happen, but you're talking about things that happen on a very high time frame. Very, very difficult to predict how and when at this point, if really is the question. So that is going to wrap it up, I think, almost. We got a few minutes left. The markets look very quiet. There's not a lot going on in markets. Today's show is probably going to be pretty short, just going through the charts, looking at what I think is going to happen. But we have time left in the private live lab. So USD JPY is starting to find a range. It did end up popping up finally after grinding in this area. I don't know that this is really going to be a range, what I've mapped. Excuse me, what I've mapped out here. So I was up a little bit late last night, had a situation. But we do have some pretty clear defined bounds anyway. We've got this high way up here, 159.24. We have a local high at 157.70, basically. And we have this low right here that has kind of had a double bounce. So what we could see here, let's see what the higher time frame looks like. It's an interesting look. I think a lot's just going to depend. Right now, it's hard to say. Like, is it going to range? Is it going to break out of that range? I don't know. I think we're going to start to see this chart slow down a little bit. It's had some nice volatility in the last week or two. And you're either going to get, on the macro is all I can really look at right now. It's not a lot of data. It's just, like I said, the markets are just kind of quiet. You have two scenarios. This is on the daily chart. It's like two primary scenarios, more or less. You could get where price kind of comes up, a little more slowly, makes a lower high and starts to make these lower highs and then eventually breaks down. That could happen, right? So this is a distinct possibility right here. You could also have where, and this is kind of what I think will happen, honestly, but I could be wrong. And again, a lot of the economic, head and tailwinds will have to do with that. You could see price create a range, and it could even be a broader range. But those are all the options right now. So at this point, things have slowed down significantly. And what I probably would look at as the energy kind of comes out of this pair is what may happen here in just like, for today kind of thing, is you might develop a range in this area, maybe you might start to see a range develop, which is kind of like what you see here. And that's tradable. You just, you trade the structure, but it hasn't really truly developed that yet. We're not in that scenario just yet, but that might happen. And of course, after every range is a breakout, whether that's up or down, you kind of have to wait for that to happen in order to determine that. But that might be the way that I look to trade this is now that things are slowing down, kind of looking at local structure is my cue. So, but that is what we have time for in the public live lab. Thank you all for watching. Look in the link in the description is a free algo, right? It's a free algo. You get to see me build it. It's actually a video that shows you how I build the algo, how I turn it into code using Grok, and I show you the tools that traders use to connect that algo or any algo to their broker to trade it. Now, this particular algo, you do need to optimize it for your trading, but other than that, it's actually plug and play. You just have to make sure it's profitable, which is done usually manually, unless you really know what you're doing with coding. So that's there. It's free. Go in there. Go in that description, click that link. It's all for you. We'll also send out our weekly market updates if you decide to get that as well. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to head into the private live lab. Don't forget we come back on Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. EST. So we'll see you then. In the meantime,
join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not going to die. We love you.